Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. Hot on the heels of my 7 most significant features of the new Canon 80D. We were discussing that and the things that really jumped out at me. There were 7 things. You can check that video out if you want to see what were the most impressive to me. There's a couple anyways that I'm disappointed with about the 80D. Things I think it should have had and things that it didn't have. So first and foremost, I think it's probably on a lot of people's minds, is no 4K. In this day and age now, with the competition we have in this segment of the camera market, I think this is a big faux pas on Canon's part to not have 4K video. I mean, the Sony a6300 is now out, or be out in March anyways, very soon, with 4K. The Panasonic cameras, most of them now have 4K. My G7, which you can buy, there's been many deals for $597 with a lens, and it gives you an amazing 4K. Here we have the new 80D at a much higher price point with some really cool autofocus technology for video, the dual pixel AF, arguably the best, even better than what Panasonic has to offer, but they're stripping the 4K out of it. So it leaves me in a position where I'd love to buy the 80D, but I'm not willing to go back to shooting just 1080 and not having the ability to shoot 4K. It's really grown on me. I love to be able to shoot 4K. It has so many advantages, not just in the increased resolution. It allows you to shoot 4K and then export to 1080, but in your editing, crop so that it looks like you have multiple camera angles. There's just so many advantages to 4K. Once you try it out and get used to it, you just don't want to go back from it. And here's Canon releasing the 80D, a body I was really interested in. A lot to do with the dual pixel AF technology for video, because I think that's very significant. But then you cripple it, you won't let it shoot 4K. So that's a big problem for me. It's probably the biggest thing that I'm disappointed with on the 80D. The biggest reason I probably won't buy the 80D. The other thing, I really only had 2 points that jumped out at me about that. And the other thing is the sensor and the sensor performance. I'm glad it's at 24, but I think we're going to see that for all of the performance metrics of this sensor, it does not compete with any of the cameras from Nikon that are 24 megapixels, nor from Sony, because we can see that they have not, the ISO range, the expanded ISO range is the same. They have bumped it, I think, 1/3 of a stop or something in the native range, but essentially it's the same because the expanded range hasn't gone up. So this camera does not perform any better at high ISO than the 70D did. The 70D was not in and of itself a great high ISO camera. It wasn't bad, but it was the last one in the race. It lost the race. The rest of the pack beats it. You have all the Nikons beating it, the Sonys beat it, and then the Canons at the end. So I would have liked to have seen Canon come to the front. I would have liked to seen them leapfrog the rest, deliver best-in-class high ISO performance, and along with that, then we should have hopefully seen the best-in-class color depth, dynamic range, all the types of things that we're looking for metrics and performance on a sensor. And unfortunately, I think the 80D is just going to be okay in that regard. It's just catching up in megapixels. Would have been nice to see it do a jump there. I would have really appreciated a 28 or 30 megapixel sensor, so that when they brought this camera out, instead of just catching up to the competition, they leapfrogged it. Didn't happen. But I will say I'm okay with it staying 24, but I wish the metrics had been better at that 24. I wish we had better high ISO. I wish we had better portrait color depth. I wish we had better dynamic range. Dynamic range and high ISO performance are the 2 biggies for me. And unfortunately, I think you're going to see the tests bear out that they just doesn't have it. Just the indication that they haven't moved the ISO range up tells us that they don't want us to shoot it any higher than the 70D did, and the 70D already was not a competitor. It was the loser in that regard. So those are my 2 biggies for why I wouldn't consider the 80D for me to buy it. Why the 2 things I'm disappointed with. To be honest, I could have lived with the sensor. It's not the best, it's not the most competitive, but it's okay. The thing that really lets me down and why I can't consider it for me and for my uses, because I shoot a lot of video, is no 4K. I'm not willing to go back to a camera with no 4K, and it's a real disappointment because I really wanted this dual pixel AF. Now the only option for me if I wanted is to spend $6,000 or $7,000, I think even more here in Canada, to go to a Canon 1DX Mark II. Now, the funny thing is that the Canon 1DX Mark II does not even have as good a dual pixel AF as the 80D does. The 80D has a better dual pixel AF system for video than the Canon 1DX Mark II does, and it's their flagship that costs thousands of dollars more. Anyways, those are my two main points, folks. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Leave your comments below. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss what could have been on the 80D or the disappointments with the 80D. Are you still interested in buying it, or does this take it off the potential list of cameras to buy like it does for me? Does it do that for you? Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.